Hello everyone. Today our topic is acoustic FWI using amplitude encoding strategy. My name is He Liu and my co-authors are Daniel Tread and Christopher Inan. To reduce the cost of both the data acquisition and processing, FWI using blended data has been recognized as very promising in future oil exploration. The objective function taking the least square norm of the misfit vector delta p is given by this equation. And in amplitude encoding FWI, short gathers are transformed into super short gathers by this equation. In this equation, the matrix B is defined by this, which has a dimension n sub by a sec. The ratio between n sec and n sub is a factor by which the computational cost is reduced. Since usually your n sub is much smaller than n sec, the encoding FWI would achieve much better efficiency due to the data dimension reduction. And then we redefine the objective function of encoding FWI by this equation. This matrix B transpose B is referred to as crosstalk matrix, and when it's equal to identity matrix, the encoding objective function is equal to the traditional objective function. So FWI using blended data would produce the same results as in the conventional case. In this work, we use Hartley and cosine basis as the encoding functions. We use a Marmorsi model. We generate all short gathers for 140 sources. The grid size is 16 meters and the central frequency is 4 Hz. For comparison, we blend all the short gathers into 7, 35, and 70 super shots. The second row are the corresponding crosstalk matrices. With the increasing number of blended data, more of diagonal elements are close to 0. Here we present the first super shots in both cases. In our experiments, we run FWI using a gradient-based method for 100 iterations. And for comparison, we first present the inverse results by using conventional FWI, which is shown here, and amplitude encoding results are shown here. On the left side, Hartley basis results, we can notice there still exists some crosstalk noise in here. Well, with the increasing number of super shots, it can be well mitigated. And on the right side, using cosine basis, the first image still contains some noise up here, while the other two models are almost noise-free. Generally, in our experiments, compared with the result by conventional FWI, amplitude encoding would produce very good approximations of the velocity models, even with only 7 blended data. Here we compare the data misfit function. To further improve the calculation efficiency, we adopt the dynamic encoding concept. But in our case, instead of changing the encoding function, we reduce the number of blended data every few iterations to further improve the calculation efficiency. In our test, we first still compose the short gathers into 70 super shots and run 25 iterations, and then we compose them into 35 super shots and run another 25 iterations using the updated velocity model by the first step as the initial model. Likewise, we use 14 and 7 super shots for 25 iterations each. So overall, we also updated the velocity model 100 times. Here we present the inverse result comparison between the dynamic encoding and the previous static encoding. The first row are the results by static encoding, we just shown before, and the second row are the corresponding dynamic encoding results. When we respectively compare these 4 figures, we can see both encoding strategies provide almost identical inverse results, and using both bases make no obvious differences, but the data dimension has been further reduced. The data misfit and vertical profile comparison are shown in these 2 figures, and we can see using the dynamic encoding provide very similar convergence rate as in the static encoding cases. Since the number of super shot is changed every 25 iterations, the data misfit may not be smooth. From this figure, we can also see all these four schemes give very good approximations of the true velocity model. So in this work, we presented the amplitude encoding strategy and compare the performance of both two bases. And amplitude encoding strategy can mitigate the crosstalk noise very well, providing very good approximations of velocity models and the convergence rate. Using dynamic encoding would further improve calculation efficiency. Okay, thank you for your time.